Hi everybody, welcome back. Well, we're finished celebrating, but we're still happy, and it was my watering day, and I wanted to share a few things that maybe the people that have been growing orchids for a long time are familiar with, but if not, it will help a lot of other people. So I just finished watering. I left the ones here that I want to talk about, and then for those who want to watch yet another repotting video. Look what Mom and I, it's our day. We always go out Friday and we shop, but isn't this beautiful? Save On Foods, where we buy our groceries, is the only place in town that actually gets healthy orchids. This one was $19. And why did I pick this one? Well, look at the aerial roots. I have never seen so many aerial roots on one sold in the grocery store. And being almost like 90% of our orchids are from the grocery store because it's all we can get here, other than the couple I've ordered, which can only be done in the late spring and summer because of the weather. I'm very happy. So I thought, well, I'll got my eye on some small ones. So I got a few pots in the works for my hanging rack above the window. So I got my eye for some small ones, but this one's going to go in this pot. So when we came home yesterday, oh, there it is. It was in this pot. See how nice and clean? I didn't have to cut it out. None of the roots were growing through the holes. It was tight in here. I had to water it to get it out because it was stuck to the sides. So I did that, and we're going to repot that after I discuss a couple things. And I'm going to put it in the pot that it's in, but I always take it out of the plastic pot and drop pot it into one that at least has the air holes on the outside. And it is looking so healthy, I'll be surprised if there's anything wrong. But I always, right away, because of past experiences, repot to bark. Now, about repotting to bark. Consistency is something that the orchids like. So mark your schedule on the calendar, and they get used to their surroundings. You've just taken it from moss and you've put it in bark, and give it time. Don't be in a rush to change it to something else you saw somebody else doing, or give it some time to adjust, because it's not going to happen overnight. And talk about adjusting. Okay. As you know, we were given these, the lampshade orchids, a little extra nitrogen in a very weak feeding, and they have improved again. I'm happy with the results. Today we didn't use the same fertilizer, and I'll tell you about that again. So they've just been watered, but I just wanted to show you it has made a difference. Just a little bit of a weak fertilizer, it's made a difference. Now, they are staying in bark. I have found that it is the best thing for me, and the humidity of the home and living in the northern climate, and it just seems best. It drains good, and sometimes I might be on the dry side. And if it's your watering day, say you're going to water once a week, and you're wondering if you're doing it too much or not enough, just dig into your plant. The bark will move away easily. Just dig in before you water and look down there and see the color of your roots. Now, if it looks like that they're shriveling. They can be grayish silver inside the pot, or the ones closer to the outside you'll find are greener. But if it looks really, really dry and they're starting to wrinkle, then you better closen up your watering days. And just looking like that will help you decide how you're going. I've actually, in the past, dumped all the bark out of one to see how it was doing, to see if it was dry, because you'll find the smaller pots may dry out a lot quicker. You may have to give them a little extra during the week. So I wanted to discuss that with you. Now, the magic of light. Well, this one also was a grocery store fell. I thought I was going to lose because 2 leaves fell off, if you remember. But, you know, this leaf was growing all the wrong way. And it was looking unbalanced. So all I did 2 days ago was change it so the light was behind it. And you know, this leaf moved right over, and it's looking really nice. And oh, I'm so happy. The roots are so nice. And I'm dripping water all over my floor again. Yeah, so that works out. So the magic of light, it works on the leaves, and also now yesterday I had to make a decision about staking the spikes or inflorescences, and I knew that the one with the keiki was going to be hard to do because it was coming out. We got 2 going kind of different angles. So I got my stick and I kind of just slowly went down, not real close to the monopodial stem and not near the edge of the pot, because as you know, a lot of the roots are on the outside edge of the pot. So, and not too close to the center. So a little ways out, I actually scotch taped 2 stakes together so that I could get them in and they would sort of support each other. And I used a little piece of scotch tape right there just to kind of hold them. And be very, very careful. If you're new to staking your orchids, they are fragile. Many, many people have broke them off. So this is why I have just some little bits of Mom's knitting wool, and I just slowly pulled it to the stake. Now as they get harder and firmer and more mature, I can put some plant clips on, but I decided to do that, and I did the same with the keiki. And there they are going into the ground. So the little ones I'm not worrying about, they'll hang over, but these ones could get heavy, and I wanted to make sure that they had some support before they grew very much bigger. And the purple one, this was fun because if you remember, I mean 2 years in a row in the kitchen window, this one has been huge. So it may not look like it's going to be huge right now, but it is going to be huge. So I had to spike it, but because I didn't want to go near the edge of the pot, because this is actually coming out near the edge of the pot because it's hanging over. It's an old plant with a long stem Carolyn didn't want to cut off. So I have the stake more in over here. And I'll just put it down. It's an extra long stake in case I need the length. So I took and bent it over and stuck it in the edge so it's not in my way and I don't hit it. But it's there if I need it. And there is one tiny little spike, if I can get it in there, coming out in the bottom there. One other little spike, yeah, there it is. And funny thing about that spike, I didn't notice it when I went to repot it, because if you remember, I didn't like it in the pot it was in, and I did 2 repots this year on this one. So I didn't notice that little spike. And this one wasn't even there yet. But I guess it didn't like that when I repotted it was in spike, but it's like slowly growing little bits at a time. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens with that. Okay, that was the other little thing. Now, this is Sunrise. If you remember, she was also a grocery store phal, and I repotted her on October 1st to the decorator pot I made for the table. And she's had bubbly, wavy leaves when I got her, as you can see, and a kind of dry spot in the center, but see the bubbles and the waves in the leaves. So I've enjoyed her flowers since October 1st when she was potted, and I decided because the ones closest to the media were slowly falling off, and the other ones still look pretty good. But I decided that for the strength of the plant, because I want to now concentrate on the plant. But I'm going to leave her near. I'm sure she'll know that her babies are there. So I'm leaving her close to her flowers. And when I cut them off, I cut them at an angle because there's more area to absorb water. And I never smushed it. You know, I think it's with roses. Some people smush it, but apparently with orchids don't do that. Just do the angle cut. So we'll see how long the flowers last in the water. Okay, and so that's it, but fertilizer. Okay, this is the one, of course, it was Plant Prod 25-10-10. I used 2 waterings in a row. And as you see, this, because I just got the Cymbidiums, and I think I got a surprise coming about them. So this is what I used in the summer for them outdoors, and I had a big jug with some water in, and after I sprinkled them occasionally, probably not often enough, I gave them a half a teaspoon in a gallon of water, Cymbidiums. That's written from summer. So anyway, I did use that the last 2 watering on the leaf for the leaves. But now today, and very weekly, this is the same company, but it's 15-15-18 Plant Prod. So the 18 being nourishment for the whole plant, and it's almost even in numbers. So very weak pinch in the water in my little jug. After I watered them, I gave them a little bit each. So to keep them healthy and keep things going along good, because I do have so many that were just repotted. Now, let's move on. Okay. So I say this is looking like a healthy plant, so we're about to find out. I've got my bark. I soaked it as soon as we got home yesterday. I usually do. It's surprising how beautiful orchids you can find at the grocery store, and it's too tempting. There was probably a half a dozen of the large ones, and probably the same of these smaller ones. So here we are. It's definitely well soaked. Another one of my bargain pots. Actually, the last one, I got one big one left, so, but I have some other plants. So here we go. We'll just have a look in here. And it's nice and soft. Nothing's gonna be injured. And look at all these leaves. I want to keep all the leaves. Eventually I want my plants to have so many healthy leaves and shiny leaves, and I want it to be really good for them. Okay, it's always, this is done so quick. Potting really isn't a problem. Even if you want to look in your bark repotted one, you want to check how it's doing. It's not such a big stress on it as when it's been packed in moss and then you put it in bark. Like the worst thing I ever did was take one of my, it was in a paint can. It was just beautiful. It had so many roots, and I thought I'd sort of try a sort of semi-hydroponic thing. It got worse and worse daily, worse and worse, and I should have stopped and repotted it, and I didn't. And I'll never do it again because I lost that plant. It did not, it was used to having its roots in, and it did not want to be out. So as beautiful as I thought. Maggie, come here. She's barking. She probably sees, she's got, Maggie, there's this little dog up the road that is a little, hey, what is going on? You be good. No barking. She has a collar sometimes she wears. But anyway, there's this little dog these people rock, and she hates that little dog. I don't know why. So she says, that dog's getting a walk, man, and I'm not. So anyway, behave yourself. She gets a walk almost every day. So this is looking really good. There's a couple of dark ones. I hate cutting things off if I don't have to. I'm going to come in and I'll throw it on the floor and let you have a good look. Okay, here we go. So this one here is kind of dark right here, and it is a little gooey. But it does go green. So, you know, you're saying, well, what do I do with that? Look at that. Well, these are the decisions we have to make. This one was starting to go. You see, there was no air in there. They need that air. The moss is good for those people that grow moss, is good, but you have to plan that it's going to get some air, because if it doesn't, that's what happens. Even in this situation, but luckily it has so many aerial roots that I know I'm throwing it on my floor, but it's hard, I know, especially if you're new. You say, well, what do I do with this one? Well, I quite often pinch them a bit and leave the vellum right here, and the rest, if I think it looks okay, I leave it. So I say, okay with that. I mean, this, if I had, say I decide, okay, Carolyn, those flowers are beautiful. I do not want to disturb this plant. I want to let it flower, and when it's through, I will, look, see, rotten. That will continue to multiply, and if I had said, well, what if this flowered for 2 months? Already Sunrise had been going for 2 months, and I left it in the pot and I hadn't gone in to repot it. Well, those real soft gooey ones would have multiplied. So we have some vellum here and here, and this one, you see, this will continue to grow here, but you know, this is the decision you have to make. So let's pull some more of this out. Yeah. I think this is why I thought I would do another one and get you right in there where you can see, especially if you're new to doing this, you know, you're wondering, oh, I've opened, I don't know what to do. Should I keep it, save it? This one's long. It's nice and green on the end. It was probably near the edge of the pot. This one here, you can see it's rot. It's just coming off. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving the vellum. And there's another one right here. This is not good. Now I'm not putting any cinnamon on these. Cinnamon, if you get too carried away on the roots, it'll just dehydrate them. And I don't really want that. In the bark, if I give them an extra week, it's had a good watering, I'm not worried about it. I'll put it in damp bark. Instead of watering once a week, I'll wait the 2 weeks before I water, and I'll mist the aerial roots lots. And the top of the media. So I'm leaving that one. Some might not. Oh, maybe not. Oh, that piece looks terrible. I think I'll take that off. See, sometimes rather than make a cut, that's what I do. I used to always cut them off, and then I like to leave this. It's extra holding for the plant. Okay, I think we're pretty good. I'll give it a little rinse and we'll get it in the bark. There we go. Okay. So there's our moss. There's actually a dead root laying right there. Okay. That was a very healthy looking plant. I'm not complaining. I'm quite happy with the choice. The leaves are happy. And of course, aerial roots. You know I love aerial roots. So I'm going to put, this is a very small pot. It's about the size of the one it was in. It actually fits in there. I like to go bigger, but I've only got real big right now. Are this size. Of course, now I got my hands full and it's stuck in there. Come on out of there. Okay. Just like that. There we go. Okay, so a bit of paper down there. We'll put a little bit in the bottom. Don't need too much because there's not a lot of room. And the aerial roots stay out. And, you know, they had cut, I think 2 or 3, this one and this one. They had cut some of them, but the others they hadn't. So, you know, repotting is so simple. We're just going to drop them in there. I'm not putting any charcoal in this small pot. I'm not worried about it. It's going to drain so well because these are big pieces of bark. So we're just going to shake them down in there. There. Watering day for me, when I'm with you showing you stuff, I'm probably faster, but in the morning after breakfast I water, put some nice music on, it's peaceful, and I use that time to get to know my plants. So I just look them over, make sure there's nothing happening, because if you catch a little bit of scale early, you avoid problems later. So anyway, and now I always make sure I measure my bark, because I did have that experience of running out of bark. So I went out, because I keep it out in the gazebo. I have all my pots and soil for the garden, and oh, I'd show you in there someday. It's quite interesting. That's where I keep all my gardening stuff. For the vegetable garden, for the greenhouse, and it's handy. And the bird feeds for the birds. So I should show you in there someday. I have a big plank that runs across the very top because it's high. And I've got all kinds of little pots up there. This is so cute. This is something I've never seen before. I have to show you. Inside, still. Can you see the size of that little leaf? There's a couple of the tiniest little leaves in here. So I don't think it's suffered too much. It's got some of its original little leaves. So here we are. I might putter around with it later, and I'll definitely take my little dollar store after I water, I go just under the edge on the ones I know that can develop scale. I'm very careful. So we've been doing really good. So here we are, and thanks for joining me again. And it's fun. I'm having fun. I hope you are. Bye.